Artsy, chapter 43. He flew around with his brother for a couple of hours, and once Monkey King finally tired himself out, they returned to the tower. He went to take went inside his bathtub, and he was covered in sand, trees, and other stuff that he had accidentally crashed into while flying about. And Garganta was cleaning his sandy footprints. And he had also sat in a couple of the furniture. And he opened both waters of faucet with his feet, and he took in a deep breath, and he rested his cheek on his shoulder. Hovering over he was Mallory, and she asked him, "Where did you go?" And he shrugged his shoulders in response. And Mallory asked, "Did anything interesting happen?" And said, "Nothing much, just a standard joyride that got eventually interrupted by one of them." "Oh yes, them," said Mallory. Garganta by now had finished cleaning the entire mess that he made, and she entered the bathroom when she saw when she saw how dirty the bath water had gotten. And shaking her head sadly, she drained the water, and she filled a bucket with cold water from the sink. And then she assisted in getting himself cleaned out. And she cleaned him up from head to toe as she would do with a little kid. And mind you, grooming was a way that apes and monkeys like to bond. And while washing her hair, she said, "And if you keep talking alone, and others will say you're crazy." And when she was done, she said, "Dry that he was a towel and wrap him in a white blanket." And when she said, pointing upstairs, "And go room, and the floor's still wet," he nodded, and he went upstairs. And he lay down on his bed, and his red curls, still partly wet, fell on the pillow. And we were about to say something, but we figured that it was better to let this sleeping dog lie. And with any luck, somebody may have bothered to try to keep up with whenever he was in the middle of his joyride with his brother. He closed his eyes for a moment, and he closed his eyes, and he stayed like that until dinner. And when he smelled the food, he opened his eyes, and he ate his grub. And when he was done eating, he looked at us, and he nodded in response. And he said slowly, carefully, with words, "You were interested in knowing about my joyride." And we shook our heads in response. And all the while, Monkey King kept giggling, and he found the entire situation hilarious. And then he said, "You want to know about my day?" And we nodded in response. And he closed his eyes and nodded. "My day was uneventful." And we took some time to overanalyze what he meant by uneventful. What is uneventful for somebody such as Ahi? In the end, we decided that it was best not to press the issue altogether. He eventually started to ruminate on where he wanted to go next. After conversing with his brother, Monkey King suggested, "The closest continent to from here is the frozen lands of Albion of the north, and you're going to have to fly or swim there, and no ship can make it there because of the iceberg. And there'll be dragons in some part too, and the closest continent is to the west, and the place is underdeveloped, and we don't know much about it." And he semi-added, "I know people up north, so I will go there first," said he, getting up. "And don't forget your things," said Monkey King, walking after his brother. For the last few days we have been flying due north, and he was in his dragon form, and from time to time he would dive in the water to either eat sand or salt or plankton, and as a result of his acquired diet, he was growing sleeker by the day. And to conserve energy, he had expanded his wing and made his frame smaller and elongated. And this new aerodynamic form allowed him to glide over the waters without beating his wings often. And really did not know much about this land aside from how it looked like from space. And from up close we saw plenty of icebergs here and there, and there were only one ship, however, over the horizon. And aside from being unfamiliar, all of the ships were more or less interesting further up. And based on an ancient map we found, there were supposed to be dragons here. And with this sinister presence, however, our eyes only saw frozen ground all around. And eventually, as he lowered his altitude, and in one of the icebergs there was an opening which resembled the entrance of a cave. And outside there was a blond man dressed in furs, and upon closer inspection we recognized Mildred. And he landed before him and assumed his human form, and he was wearing a noble attire. As a result, he sneezed and started shivering when he came in contact with the cold air. Mother chuckled and threw his fur coat over and below he was wearing a white tunic that went as far as the knee. And the boots were made of phosphor and leather, and he had a white fluffy fur around his neck and wrist and at the end of his skirt. And Mother was dressed for the winter, unlike Ahi. And Mother beckoned at him within, and when both were inside, an icy wall close to masquerade the entrance to his lair. The hallway leading to the residential area was lighted by blue flame. And while walking, Mildred said, "Did you finally get bored of the continent?" "More or less," responded Ahi, stumbling. "How is that little wife for you?" inquired Mother. Same old, said Ahi sadly. "Oh, my darling will be happy to hear that. She became so soured ever since you got married. And by the way, is it true that you poisoned an entire city with your smart?" I said, "No," said Ahi. "And welcome to my humble abode," said Mildred, bowing. And the ice climber was very similar to Mildred's mountainous retreat, and he had recently returned to his native land, and he had taken little Brunhilde with him. The tree had been quite treacherous for him, and it had been 5 centuries since he had last flown great distances. And aside from his little girl, he was carrying items he could not allow himself to be part with, and this included his human bed, his books, his gold, and a rocking chair. And we knew this since Mother had flown in this matter within Chin's line of sight. And despite being inside a frozen icicle, the interior was not too cold, and it was a comfortable 55 degrees, and there was no water dripping. And we assumed that there was some odd magic holding the place together. And the main room showed a rocking chair, a writing desk, 1 book chair, and there were also 2 large closets filled with pelts. And beside the closet there was a weapon staff with a rapier, and there was also a wooden staff leaning against the wall, and the room itself was square with a dome roof. And there weren't any windows, and the blue flames gave the place a dark bluish hue, and it made the interior appear to be made of solid blue stone instead of ice. He gave a peripheral view to his surroundings, and he found Mother's rocking chair, and he sat down on it. And Mother then went to another room, and he dragged a stool to sit before Ahi. And Johnny, Mother rested his head on his hand, and he asked, "So what brings you here?" Ahi shrugged his shoulders in response, and Johnny, Mother said, "Do you want me to wake up the girl?" "Nah, let her sleep," responded Ahi, passing his hand over his frosted red curls. "Whatever you're up to, I would be much obliged to offer my humble cave as your base of operation." Mother then added, "I'm going to take a nap. If you find any food, bring me some." "If you find any food, I'm hungry." He got up and he followed Mother to his bedroom, and after the kitchen, the cave got smaller, and it was large enough to contain Mildred's massive dragon frame. Mother had removed his clothing, and he went into a fetus position to release his splendor, and the cave looked much smaller with a giant dragon within it. It was just large enough for a coiling Mother and his closed wings. And on the floor there was a tiny layer of golden coins, and in a corner of the room was Brunhilde napping. And she had not grown much since last we saw her, and silver dragons took longer than regular dragons to grow to their adult size. And she was growing much slower than the regular silver dragon broods, and this was partly due to the petite nature of her mother Flaminka. And there was a good chance she would either grow really, really big or stay really, really small like the noble Chihuahua. He walked closer to Brunhilde, who was pretending to be asleep, and when she did not get up, he left the room, and her father's sigh dropped the temperature by 10 degrees, and Mildred brushed Brunhilde towards the entrance of the cave with his tail. "Go play, little girl, go play, daughter." Brunhilde shook and kicked the golden coins backwards with her hind legs, and Mother said to Brunhilde, and at some point growled at Brunhilde in a language that we could barely understand. Brunhilde showed her fangs and snapped her claws on the ice, and when she was done, she assumed her human form, and she was still the same creepy, dour little girl. The only difference that she had the physique of a flat-chested 12-year-old ballerina. The dragon to human spell really worked wonders on her, and like her father she has slimmed down, and a diet of salt water and timber will slim down just about anyone. And as such, during the winter months, the silver dragons spend most of their time hibernating. They would only got up to join the feeding frenzy whenever one of their peers caught a blue whale or something. And in order to survive, the silver dragons had developed language, and they found it much easier to deal with humanoids than to eat them. And even among humans, there were a good number of silver dragons permanently residing with them. And that's what shows about some of the periphery information that we acquired thus far. He waited outside for Brunhilde, and she was dressed in a white leather white coat that had a hood, and the hood and eyes exterior borders were made of soft white bunny fur, and the boots were made of reindeer skin. He too had changed his attire and taken a cue from Mildred. He was wearing a parka made of caribou fur, and he had a large hood, and the insulating skin was thinner to allow for more mobility. And there was also the underwinter clothing, and the shoes were made of caribou skin, and the boots were made of seal skin. Brunhilde gave a sign to urge him to follow her, and the pair went down on a wooden stair which led to a small harbor. And there was a little gondola with a single oar, and the water around the oar was calm, almost quiet, and this contrasted greatly with the choppy waters a few meters away from the boat. And he sat in the passenger seat, and Brunhilde took the oar, and she wiggled the oar with great finesse to get it out of the harbor. And once they were in the clear ocean, she began to sing. He rolled his eyes when he heard her high-pitched singing, and she then stepped twice with her left feet, and a magic circle became visible, and when the circle appeared, the boat started moving forward on its own. And whenever Brunhilde moved the oar, the boat changed position, and Brunhilde mechanically avoided the large ice chunks over the water, and she eventually made her way towards another small harbor. And there waited a 12-year-old lad also dressed in furs, and he was carrying a satchel filled with more fur. And he sat beside her in the passenger seat, and there was still room in the boat for 2 more other people. While Brunhilde continued on her way, he asked the question in everyone's mind, "Where are we going?" The lad said nothing, and he pointed to his mouth and said in a foreign tongue, "Do you speak Polish, Mr. Dragon, sir?" "He speaks Dutch," responded he. And the lad closed his eyes for a moment and then added, and this time he said, "I see, you barely speak the language of Duni. And I was originally from there, but I was sacrificed to the dragon." And it was only now that we realized that he sometimes spoke bad German, and his pronunciation was always so awful that it messed with a translator. Then again, we never had any need of translator except to restock. And it is easier to transmit Artsy into people's brain, or to have the ultimate weapon figure out that jungle for us, and we can Sophie clear at us and force us to focus on his conversation. "So you are from the southern continent. How is it like never to have any winter?" said the kid with goggles, putting on goggles. "I can't complain," responded he. "Are you a dragon, an outsider, a human, or you don't look like anyone I said before?" said the king, huddling within his robe. Mama says I'm human," said he, "but I'm not too certain." The light chuckled within the folding of his parka, and Brunhilde tugged out his hood to get his attention. And then she spoke to me. And the kid asked, "And what did she say?" "She says the sky has Polaris," responded he, pointed to the sky. The sky was in the midst of a colorful Aurora Borealis, and it was not night per se, only gentle twilight. And the sun was close to rising over the horizon, and based on the oculus observation, the continent had only had polar night, and for 3 days, and still the days were considerably shorter, and now the sun had gone down at 3:48 p.m. Oh, the kid said, "Oh, you mean the snake sail? Yep, it's a cold, alright, and my dad tried to sail down and never came back. I can't wait for summer." "My name is Jotun." He said he, unimpressed by Jotun's name, and Jotun pouted and went silent. And Jotun was the name of a Norse ice giant. But now the boat was in the open sea, and out in the ocean, Brunhilde's magic-powered gondola reached 40 knots an hour, and the motion was not felt thanks to a magic shield combined with a float spell. And in a matter of 30 minutes, the trio arrived docked at a human port, and the port town was small and rustic, and the huts were made of fur and whalebone, and behind the port there were slowly rose a pine forest. Since it had recently snowed, the men were outside paddling the snow, and others were opening shop again and folding their goods they carried in furs. And others had wagons pulled by horses, and a good number had old-fashioned dog sleds. see you on that chapter. They arrive at a new time. Bye bye and God bless.